If you really want to be rich and wealthy, then you must create a wealth consciousness. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the people in the world have a lack and scarcity consciousness. Now, this lack and scarcity consciousness is evident in the results of 95, 96% of people in the world. They have results that keep them struggling instead of thriving. And it's not their circumstances, it's not your circumstances. It is your conditioning around money. It is having a lack and scarcity consciousness. You cannot have a lack and scarcity consciousness and create wealth, abundance, and prosperity. It defies all the natural laws that we know govern our lives, okay? Now, we can work with these laws to assist us in creating the life that we want, or they will dictate to us our results based on bad programming and bad conditioning. And if you really want to be rich and wealthy, then you need to hang out with rich and wealthy people. Now, there are some people who will look at me and cross their arms and go, yeah, well, I can't hang out with rich and wealthy people because they're not in my environment. And there's this general idea that because you aren't necessarily connected directly to rich and wealthy people, that's not possible. But I am here to absolutely bust that myth wide open, because we have something called the internet. And I'm going to show you how you can hang out with rich and wealthy people, and why you want to hang out with rich and wealthy people in order to change and transform your results and transform your life. Because you know that your income is the product of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. Think about it. If you hang out with deadbeats, what do you think your life will look like? We become a part of our environment. Why? Because we want to be accepted, right? Our primal brain says that in order to survive, this comes from when we're a little tiny baby and we're totally helpless, and we rely on the tribe, on our parents, on the people who take care of us for us to survive. If we don't fit in, if we aren't compliant, if we aren't the same, then we risk being kicked out of the tribe, and that means certain death if we're ostracized from the tribe. And this is the way the primal brain, the fear-based brain, is wired, or the survival brain, not the fear-based brain, the survival brain. It is fight, flight, or freeze. They're the responses that it has to certain things in our life and to threats in our life. And it is wired to keep us safe, right? Your subconscious, your primal brain is wired to keep us safe. So it evaluates, it's very, very complex what it does. It evaluates the environment, it sees what's being demonstrated in the environment, and then it copies that. Because of 2 things. One is, doesn't know anything else. It just sees what it sees and goes, oh, well, if this is the way they do it, then this is the way it must be done. Secondly, because it knows it needs to be accepted by the tribe in order to survive. And then this perpetuates, unless we deliberately change this programming, this perpetuates year after year after year, decade after decade after decade, for our entire life, unless we deliberately do personal development work and change our neurology, change our psychological patterning, and to create different results, okay? And the subconscious brain perceives a threat in this because it's already determined that in order to keep us safe, it does things a certain way, right? So, and if you think about it, rich and wealthy people, they hang out with rich and wealthy people. So they are constantly affirming being rich and wealthy. They're constantly affirming the kind of beliefs, thoughts, activities, behaviors, actions that affirm being rich and wealthy, because that's the environment they're growing up in. If a child grows up in a healthy, rich and wealthy environment, well, even if it's unhealthy, to be honest, they're exposed to the kind of behaviors that they see that will get those results, and they will copy and emulate those results, because that's what we do as human beings. Now, just because you grew up in an environment where you were deliberately conditioned, or not deliberately, unconsciously, subconsciously, because your parents want the best for you, right? Well, most of our parents want the best for us, and they're just behaving from their modeling. They have modeled behaviors in their past from the most influential entities in their life, and this is parents or primary caregivers, this is teachers and influencers, this is the media, this is the authorities in our lives. We don't see the world the way it is. We see the world the way we are. So we see the world through these perceptions, judgments, and filters that have been layered and layered and layered and layered, and then have been reinforced. Because once we have this programming conditioning, the brain is incredibly complex. What it does is it looks for evidence to affirm those beliefs, filtering out everything else that does not affirm those beliefs. So you have this body of evidence that you can refer to that says, see, I was right, blah, 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 blah. However, there is potentially another body of evidence out there that is actually supports that the opposite is true. But you're not open to that. You will dismiss that out of hand if you don't have an open, inquisitive, and curious mind, and you're not willing to entertain new possibilities, which most people aren't, let's be honest, okay? So maybe it's time to just open up your brain a little bit to new ideas and new concepts, because that means growth, and your soul is yearning for growth. That is why you are here listening to this video, because you are yearning for growth and expansion and new ways to live your life, and I am here to help you, to support you in that. I want you to be the best, most powerful version of you. I want you to create this unstoppable mindset so you can create a life beyond your wildest dreams and have a positive impact in the world. That is my deepest desire for you, because I know as a conscious collective, we can change the world. So why do you want to hang out with rich and wealthy people? I've just explained that to you, because you are a product of your environment. New environment, new information, new ideas, new beliefs, new perceptions, new thoughts, new actions, new results. Okay, so how do you hang out with rich and wealthy people if you're not connected to rich and wealthy people? And you know that it's not the 6 degrees of separation anymore. It's actually a lot less than that because of social media and because the world is so connected and interconnected now. And you can orchestrate getting in the environment of rich and wealthy people. And being there in person is one of the most powerful ways to get there. Immersion is so important and so powerful for the brain. So if you can go to courses where these rich and wealthy people are and hang out with them as close as possible, that kind of proximity is so powerful. It's the most powerful way to shift your mindset. If you can buy your way into those environments, so you get to hang out with these people, you listen to them, you listen to their ideas, you analyze the way they think, and then you start to adopt those same beliefs. But you've got to be open to thinking from a completely new perspective and having new perceptions. The other thing about hanging out with rich and wealthy people is you will find that they're actually not that different than you. Most rich and wealthy people aren't any smarter than you. They're just doing the right things, and they're doing more of the right things. They're probably working harder than you are. I guarantee you, there are rich and wealthy people out there who are a hell of a lot dumber than you are. And you are a lot smarter than they are. That's probably a better way than to say it, hey? That you are smarter than they are. You have more abilities than they do. You have more skills than they do. It's just that you haven't identified what they are and you're not applying them in the right way. So in order to change that, start hanging out with rich and wealthy people. And if you can do that in close proximity, hallelujah, go and do that. One of the biggest personal changes in myself that I ever had was when I was going on a trip with millionaires and billionaires. I spent 2 weeks with them in a think tank in Brazil. It was intense. It was amazing. I came back a different person. And I love being in those environments. because they really help you to see the world, see money, see wealth creation in a whole different light. They have specific traits and characteristics that once you've identified them, you can adopt them. There is no trait and characteristic that you cannot develop in you. Just because it's not dominant now doesn't mean it won't be. When you deliberately focus on becoming the person you need to be. These concepts are powerful. Adopt them and implement them in your life. Now, you have an unfair advantage over your predecessors and previous generations in relation to hanging out with rich and wealthy people. Because you can read, you have video, you have access to the internet, you have access to more information now than even the most powerful governments had 10, 20 years ago. That is truth. You have access to just about any information that you want, particularly with the new AI revolution. So on the internet, you can hang out with some of the richest people in the world because people like Robert Kiyosaki, who is incredibly wealthy, he is an educator. He loves to educate people. He wants you to be rich. And he has developed education systems over decades to help you to be rich, to educate you about money, about the monetary system, and how to use money in a way that works for you. There are a wealth of people online on YouTube who are teaching about money, about finance, about mindset. Consume that like your life depends on it. Immerse yourself in those environments. It's not as good as having close proximity, but it's pretty close. Read their books. Go to ChatGPT and ask the question, who are some of the most wealthy people in the world who have books and educational programs on money and finance? ChatGPT will give you a list of people. You can even ask it, what are the best books to read on this topic that are going to help me to create a better wealth and prosperity consciousness? It will give you the answer. It will give you a list of books. You can ask it about courses, YouTube videos, and then seek out events that you can go to that help put you in that environment. Rubbish in, rubbish out, good stuff in, good stuff out. You will notice if you do this and you are deliberate. Most people are consuming absolute trash on YouTube, Netflix, these reality TV shows that are total rubbish. Sure, it's great to have some downtime and let the brain relax every now and again. But I encourage you to be so hungry for information that expands your brain, expands your view of the world, expands and affirms your understanding about how to be rich, wealthy, and successful. And then knowledge is actually not power. Knowledge utilized and implemented correctly, that's power. That's transformational. So you take what you learn and you implement what you learn. Now, obviously, if you are immersing yourself in these environments, you're not going to be able to implement it all at once. It's kind of impossible in this 3D relationship that we have with our world. But you can take the things that really resonate with you the most and you can implement them immediately in your life, consistently in your life. The vast majority of people will say, well, I thought positively for a week or a month and it didn't work. You know what? There's something called consistent effort and a lag. So because you have been thinking a certain way, acting a certain way for years, even decades, to produce the result that you've got now, it's like a train that is going full steam ahead. That train, you will start to see results quickly, but you've got to realize that that train can't turn around, it's on tracks. What it can do is it can slow down and maybe take a diversion. But the destination is not going to happen immediately. The instant rich, it just doesn't happen. I'm sorry, but you've got to be committed and dedicated to the marathon, to playing the long game. Yes, things can start to happen quickly, but they will not happen overnight. And the vast majority of people have this ADHD and this instant gratification that they're obsessed with, and they want it to happen now. I want it now, I want it now, I want it now. If you're in exactly the same place that you are right now, in a year's time, will that be acceptable to you? What if you're in exactly the same place in 5 years' time? Will that be acceptable to you? If you can transform your life in 6 to 12 months and start to see a significant difference in your result, would it be worth going all in and dedicating just your time, your effort, your energy, a significant part of that, going above and beyond to create different results? It's not all going to be easy, man. And there's going to be times where you're like, nah, it's all too hard. Yeah. Suck it up. Get used to it. Because if you want to transform your life, you must be committed to doing whatever it takes. You must. Can do, no matter what, whatever it takes kind of attitude. Believe that life is happening for you, not to you. And if you're not seeing instant results, and if you didn't get rich in a week, that's the way this works. Is it worth the journey? Absolutely. Fall in love with the journey. Remember, the journey is the goal. The journey is the goal, not the destination. The destination is sweet. But the journey is the whole point. It is the expansion. It is the growth. It is the learning. Be obsessed with that part of your journey toward being wealthy and successful AF, because you can achieve anything you put your mind to. And when you have that kind of attitude, when you show up in that kind of way, you will be unstoppable to creating anything that you put your mind to. So hang out with rich people. I know I've thrown a lot of concepts at you in relation to this, but these concepts are the concepts and the ideals, the belief systems that come from the rich and the wealthy. This is the attitude that they have. Prove me wrong. Go and hang out with the rich, with the wealthy in whatever way. Through the internet, personally if you can, get that close proximity. Be open to opportunities that come to you. Start to think like rich and wealthy people think, because they think very differently to you. And this is the primary point. That in order to get different results, you must think differently. You must behave differently. And when you hang out with rich and wealthy people, it's almost like osmosis. You will start to think the way they think. You won't become them. And don't worry, if you don't like some of their traits and characteristics, you don't have to adopt them. And they will exhibit things that you're like, man, that's a bit of a deal breaker for me, but that just means I don't adopt that specific trait and characteristic. Because you can be a really good, compassionate, kind person and be rich and wealthy AF. So do whatever you can to hang out with rich and wealthy people. Adopt their ideas, their knowledge, absorb their wisdom, understand how to play the game to win, develop a wealth consciousness, and be committed to doing whatever it takes and playing the long game in developing your wealth so you can achieve the freedom, the abundance, the prosperity that you desire and deserve, because you are infinitely powerful and you have the ability to create anything that you put your mind to. Now, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit burning inside of you, then I have a free gift for you. It is the 20 wealth creation tips for conscious change makers, and it is free. If you want that, just type wealth in the comments below and I will send you the link to download this really comprehensive guide where I lay out the things that will help to shift your mindset, the systems, the strategies to help you to create wealth. And believe me, if you implement this, it's going to take you time, because it is over 50 pages of actionable content that is going to completely transform the way you see the world, the way you show up, and the actions that you take. And it's going to help you to create the wealth, the freedom, the abundance that you desire and deserve. So type wealth in the comments below. I will send you that free, the link to download that free guide. And if you have liked this, and like and subscribe, comment below. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is from today and how you are going to start hanging out with rich and wealthy people. Make a list. Make a list of rich and wealthy people who you really admire and who you would like to emulate and be like. And then go and hang out with them in whatever way works for you, in multiple ways. There's so many different options available to you. You do have an unfair advantage in this day and age. Take advantage of it. So I look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. Love you loads. Go all in on your visions, your goals, your dreams, because you can achieve anything you put your mind to. See you in another video very soon. If you've liked this one, you're going to love this one. Check it out now.